My name is Misbah Rehman, VP of Products and Compliance at Alkira. Looking forward to join Technado's Humans in Cyber Series talk, where we'll talk about building AI-ready networks that are secure, compliant, and fast to deploy. As far as my background goes, I've been in the networking industry for more than 15 years, working for a service provider for some of the leading networking vendors, and have been with Alkira for more than 6 years. So having two roles, like both product and compliance, actually came out of necessity. You know how startups operate. They operate in a very lean manner, doing more for with less number of people. And the same way, I think from the day one, we wanted to take compliance very seriously. So we get on that path of compliance along with our development and other functions within the company. That compliance will basically overlook all of the different operations. But now, when I look back at it, it has contributed to the product in a good way, which means that product is not only responsible for what we build, but also ensuring that it's safe, that the world's most regulated enterprises can implement it. On the product side, it's super exciting to spend time with the customers, listening to their challenges, and shaping a strategy that delivers business outcome. And it's not just the science projects that we take upon, it's real customer problems that we solve. And now with AI, this is even more critical because when we talk to the customers, they themselves do not have clarity in terms of the use cases and how they want to operationalize AI effectively. So here it's more about co-designing solutions to make sure that all our efforts and development is tailored towards the real business benefits from an AI perspective also. And now wearing compliance hat definitely adds a second dimension while developing these AI features, that making sure that whatever we are doing is adhering to the general security, governance, and regulatory guidelines. Even though from an AI perspective, these guidelines are very it's in the early stages as well. We have European Union who have defined their guidelines around AI use in a more regulated manner. It's a matter of time that it would hit the US market. So it always works well that from the ground up, from day zero again, when we are developing AI use cases or features, we want to make sure that we are adhering to the journal guidelines. So whenever there is a mandate to regulate this AI deployments, we are already there. We have taken a good stab at it while developing these features. So together, I think this dual mandate in the end make sure that Alkira's AI vision is both ambitious and responsible. So enterprises are definitely under immense pressure to adopt AI application so that they can benefit to their businesses by leveraging AI. But the problem is, even though from an AI perspective, we have the compute and storage, the network has the full potential of becoming a bottleneck in order to have the timely launch of those applications. And this is not a hypothetical statement. We should learn from the past. We have made this mistake in the cloud era as well, where cloud build their infrastructure so that the compute and storage can be consumed on demand, so that the developers do not have to wait for data center to come up. They can simply go to the cloud portals and they can consume the compute and storage that they need. However, when it was about launching those applications to or connecting to their those applications to their customers or to their internal network, they found out that the network was still manual, static, and mundane. So, from a time to market perspective, you were still waiting on network to be ready before you can launch your application, or you create another problem, which is a shadow IT problem. So, from our message to our customers and to enterprises is to make sure as you are on this AI journey, want to build applications that can help you meet business outcomes. You want to make sure that your networking solution should be able to align well with the AI architecture, which means it has to be globally available through a point and click operations, because When it comes to AI applications, you got LLMs, you got data sources, you got AI agents, you got users connecting to them. So the application is more distributed than ever. We haven't seen that kind of a distributed nature of an application. So unless and until you have a global reach where you can go to any part of the world through a point and click operations, that means you are affecting your timelines to launch those initiatives. It has to be simple so that it can be deployed at scale anywhere and anybody, and you don't have to hire people with specific expertise in order to deliver those networking solutions. The From a security and networking perspective, it has to be a unified fabric because your application is distributed. You have stuff that connects to your enterprises connected to all your edges. So unless and until you are providing security, you are opening holes into your network where somebody can actually enter into your network and can basically compromise your network. So you want to make sure that it's a unified fabric from a networking and segmentation perspective. And lastly, it has to support automation. And it has to support automation beyond APIs, beyond Terraforms, like leveraging MCP. Tomorrow, if there are more standards to better automate your solution leveraging AI, it has to adopt that. So while making a selection from a networking solution, or in case you do not have one, you have to go through your network transformation journey. And we have a lot of enterprises, or we see a lot of RFPs where customers are looking for to transform or to change their network so that they can deploy AI applications on their network. So, when you talk about the networking challenges, we often hear about the AI application posing the challenges to the network in terms of low latency connectivity. We see vendor announcements where they are coming with the new and the latest and the greatest switches and the routers that is based on this advanced CPUs that is capable of doing low latency, fast connectivity, and at massive scale. This is all good. This is definitely a challenge. But what it is about, it's about cloud service provider trying to build their infrastructure to support these LLM application. This is more about these LLM providers trying to support this massive LLM infrastructure that they need those routers and switches. However, when it comes to enterprise, typically the way I see it is most of the enterprises, unless and until the really big ones, will be consuming these LLMs as a service. So their order of operations or the problems lies between how do I connect my data sources to these LLMs. These data sources are deployed in a multi-cloud environment. So that means that you may have to go outside of the different cloud providers and you have to support multi-cloud connectivity at scale. When it comes to agents and users, they would be distributed across the globe. So you bring in a multi-edge problem where you want to make sure that you securely onboard those users onto your network globally from anywhere. So, from an Alkira perspective, this is exactly what we are preparing our customers for. And we want to make sure that our solution, which is from the ground up, has those attributes, and we continue to make changes that is needed in order once enterprise are going to deploy it at massive scale. This network should not become a challenge for them. So today we provide a global backbone that can be built in a matter of few minutes, right? So you have this enterprise backbone, which is your private backbone running on a public infrastructure so that you can touch all those distributed points. It's a unified policy, segmentation, and secure architecture. And segmentation is really critical here as well because now some of the LLMs that you might only want to expose it to your partners. So in that case, that can be in a completely different, isolated, segmented deployment, so that it doesn't messes up with the LLMs that your corporate network or your other users are using it. And similarly, you can have those isolation across your different business unit as well. And then at the same time, when you are operating that network at massive scale with such a massive east west north south movement of the traffic, telemetry becomes or monitoring and stats becomes really critical. And in order to manage those networking environment, we are heavily leveraging AI also by the launch of our MCP server, the NIA assistant within the portal. And then lastly, this has to be an AI ready and API first architecture where your network cleanly gets integrated into the customer CI/CD pipeline, so that as you are deploying those applications, the networks actually are deployed along with it. So in short, our vision from an Alkira perspective is that the all the challenges that you will face from a networking perspective, we solve those challenges so that network becomes an accelerator, not a constraint when you are delivering your AI initiatives. So, agentic AI definitely changes the game because in this case, when you talk about agentic AI, these are nothing but the application. And they are not just analyzing the data and providing you the output, they are essentially taking decisions, they're taking actions, they're interacting with different systems. So, that shift forces the enterprise to rethink how the networks are designed and operated, not just from a pure connectivity perspective, but from a compliance and security perspective. So essentially, if you look at it with all those attributes, they are nothing but like kind of a virtual employees. They do not exist in a human form, but they operate and they do the same actions and they interact with the system the same way that the human does. So now, and interestingly, I just want to quote an example that one of my colleagues just posted an article where it was talking about that a lot of these enterprises are embracing these agentic AI bots into their HR onboarding processes. So they would be onboarded as an employee, which means that they will have a role. Based on the role, they will have different access. Based on that access, their access will be reviewed from a compliance perspective on a regular interval. So what it means from our network and security architecture perspective, that now your ZTNA operations not just extends to the actual employees, this actually basically extends to the agents as well, so that we know exactly who these agents are, what kind of access they have, what authority they have within our network, and whether the action that they are performing is compliant or not. And the thing is, again, as we talked about compliance and governance and all that, this is extremely critical for our own security. And even if some of the enterprises are overlooking it, I'm sure it's a matter of time when the regulation and these government authorities will enforce those regulations onto you. Because these agents may be interacting with the really, really critical data, like the healthcare data, the PCI data, and other critical data that is critical to your business and to different governments. So it has definitely changed the game and is changing the game. And it's about enterprises embracing those agentic AI applications into their processes to make sure that when they are implementing it, they're implementing the right way and do not have to basically, it should not has to come as an afterthought that once the damage is done and then they are going to fix it. This is a good one because I can relate to this question more than anyone because I was one of the guys who was a firm believer that all that compliance blocks innovation. Why do we need this level of compliance? But once we had, like, I had to do this as part of, like, in addition to product management, as we talked about in the initial part of this interview, where having a lean function, having a lean operations, everyone had to wear multiple hats, and having that compliance role thrown at me. I think one of the things that I thought about is how we can embrace compliance where definitely it make us work like a proper organization that takes the security and compliance seriously, but at the same time it does not block innovation, as you were asking. I think one of the things that we started doing was that I wanted to make sure that this process needs to be embraced by all the stakeholders. I do not want to build those policies in isolation, and based on those policies or those structured skeleton documents around policy, and I just superimpose them onto our company. So it was more about talking to individual stakeholders that includes engineering, IT, HR, marketing, sales, and support, and talking to them that the outcome that we are looking for. The outcome was that we wanted to make sure that this company does the right thing from a governance, compliance, and security perspective. And this not only helps us just from a customer perspective, that we want to show that, oh, we are the best, like from a security and compliance perspective, doing all the right things, but at the same time it's in our benefit, because when it comes to engineering, right, and once engineering has embraced it, they love this right now, because what it makes sure is some of the things that we had to enforce was role-based access control. Now engineering is very comfortable. They, because of those processes, they know who is accessing the network and why. We have just-in-time access that we just introduced. So every time anyone wants to access production network, he needs to ask and request for the access into the environment. So all the audit trails are there. From a code changes perspective, all that processes and who has access to what branch and all that are all defined as part of the compliance. We have bounty programs where people are trying to break our solution. So before the customer knows about those problems, engineering get to know about it beforehand because of all those compliance practices. So after talking to them and after me becoming a stakeholder because of this across different groups and all that, we were able to have different groups just embrace it rather than thinking of something that is superimposed onto them. Similarly, from a sales perspective, right? What is most critical from a sales perspective? Sales wants to close business so that they can meet numbers for their quarters, for the year. Now, if I am going through a security review and I'm talking to a financial, chances are if I'm not doing a good job from a compliance perspective, they will be asking tons of questions. That security review may take weeks to months. But now, since we have all the data ready to go, all the stuff that we have already embraced, all I need to do is jump on a Zoom call. I walk them through the compliance framework, and in some cases, even the sales teams were shocked that we were able to get past the security reviews with these big companies during this an hour-long Zoom call. So what it means is now they don't have to wait, and their sales cycle can be significantly shortened. So lastly, I think I just want to say that definitely if you are implementing and superimposing compliance on top, and without becoming the compliance team themselves becoming a stakeholder in the overall process and the company deliverables and outcomes, definitely it blocks innovation. And here what it has helped us, that we have brought everybody together. We ourselves become the stakeholder into all the company objectives to make sure that we also define a process that is lean, but without compromising any of our security and controls that we need to adhere to.